Good evening, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'm going to ask for roll call first, please.
Wagner.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Salkaitis.
Here.
Fogue.
Here.
Bongard.
Here.
Munn. Here. Spellman. Here. Gem.
Here.
Petrilla.
Here.
Werble.
Here.
Okay, we're going to begin our meeting with our invocation and then Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand. And Alderman Petrilla on the invocation, please.
Let us pause together. Grant us steadiness of mind and a spirit of responsibility as we begin our work tonight. May we always remember the words, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. May that wisdom guide our judgment, our conscience, and our service to St. Charles. Amen.
Okay, Alderman Gez, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. If everyone could please turn on your cell phone. Okay. All right, so we just had a couple things that I had to remind you. So number one, if you could please keep your cell phones on mute, that would be great. It's great to see everybody. The other thing that we have to do is, based upon the huge crowd we have, from a fire exit, we need to keep the back and the doors clear. I know that that's going to be difficult, but we just have to remember to do that. So Heather, how do we, as more people come in, do we have staff that's going to be able to help us with that?
We'll take it.
Okay. So again, I want to welcome everybody to the City Council meeting. Thank you for being here. We have a full agenda, and then we will get to public comments at the end. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Nate Wentz from the Business Alliance, who's going to help us present some awards tonight. Nate?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nate Wentz, the Business Development and Tourism Specialist for the St. Charles Business Alliance. Before I begin our awards presentation tonight, I would like to give a huge thank you to City Council for having us here tonight to present our 2025 Maine St. Charles Awards. We really appreciate you for your time and for the opportunity to present the awards here and as we did last year as well. I would also like to give a huge thank you to our Business Development and Sales Committee, who helped select this year's winners and is comprised entirely of volunteers. So thank you so much for all that you do. And I'd like to take this moment to ask all of our Business Development and Sales Committee members to please stand to be recognized, and everybody can join me in giving them a huge round of applause. That'd be great. I kind of forgot there was a bunch of people standing, so I know our committee isn't this big. I would also like to give a huge thank you to Award Concepts Incorporated for helping make the awards this year. They did a phenomenal job, so we're super thankful for them. It's hard to believe that we are in year 4 of the Maine St. Charles program. As I mentioned, each year our Business Development and Sales Committee works really hard on selecting the businesses to receive the award. This year, they wanted to highlight St. Charles businesses that have been here for over 50 years. After much deliberation, our committee selected 3 businesses to receive the award this year. So before we go into the announcing each award recipient, I have a little video to play here that shows our Maine St. Charles program. So here is the video.
St. Charles, Illinois has demonstrated innovation. Dreamers, makers, and entrepreneurs have discovered this year their ideas will digitally be grown unattached with goods. The Maine St. Charles program celebrates that drive for not just selling, but making and selling pride here in St. Charles. Joy, pushing creative and artistic boundaries, and making something to be proud of.
So now we'd like to formally announce the 2025 Maine St. Charles Award winners. So we'd like to invite them to come receive their awards. So they'll receive their award from our Senior Manager of Tourism and Sales, Laura Purdy, and then head over for a picture with our Executive Director, Jenna Sawicki, and Mayor Hull. So without further ado, let's announce this year's award winners. So first up is Dickey Manufacturing Company. Congratulations, Dickey Manufacturing. Please receive your award. So while they're taking their picture, just want to give some background information about Dickey Manufacturing. So they are located at 3632 Stern Avenue. They were founded in 1911 by Wallace Dickey in St. Charles. They manufacture security seals, temper-evident products, and locks, and their products affect a wide variety of industries from food and beverage to aerospace, military and defense, and much more. Congratulations again to Dickey Manufacturing. Next up, we have R.W. Rogers Company. We'd like to invite R.W. Rogers to come up and receive your award. So while they're taking their picture, again, we'll give some background information. So R.W. Rogers Company is located at 105 Industrial Drive. They were established in 1963. They offer a full line of shopping carts, hand baskets, merchandise displays, garden center products, and more. You'll find many of their businesses at St. Charles businesses like Greenhouse or Heinz Brother Greenhouse and Garden Center, as well as major retailers such as Goodwill and Target. So congratulations again to R.W. Rogers. Our third and final recipient is the Bike Rack. We'd like to invite the Bike Rack to please come up and receive the award. So one more time while they're getting their photo taken. So the Bike Rack is located at 2930 Campton Hills Road. They celebrated their 50th anniversary this year. And they assemble a wide variety of bikes, from their mountain bikes, road bikes, to their adaptive bikes. So they have biking accessories and much more for people to check out. So congratulations again to the Bike Rack. So that will conclude our 2025 Maine St. Charles Award Ceremony. So thank you again to Council for having us here tonight, and congratulations to our 2025 Maine St. Charles Award recipients. For anyone that wants to learn more information about the Maine St. Charles program, please check out our website, www.stcalliance.org/STCmakers, to find handcrafted videos spotlighting each of these businesses, as well as to find information about previous year winners as well. So we look forward to what's in store for the program in 2026. So thank you all, and have a wonderful evening.
As they walk out, I speak on behalf of the entire council that we are so appreciative of their investment in St. Charles. Thank you. All right, next up, we're going to go to item number 6, which is the omnibus vote. Alderman Silkaitis.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the omnibus vote as presented tonight. Second.
All right, if I could have everybody please come to order. All right, we have a motion by Silkaitis, a second by Werble. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Hefner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Salkaitis?
Yes.
Folk?
Yes.
Bongard?
Yes.
Munn? Yes. Spellman? Yes. Gem?
Yes.
Petrilla?
Yes.
Werble?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries and passes. There is no old business. Now going to new business. I'm going to have Chief Likens step up. I am looking for a motion to approve a proposal for a B1 liquor license application for Fire and Wine St. Charles LLC, also doing business as Fire and Wine. It's located at 300 North Kirk Road in St. Charles. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Weber will second.
Okay, so Werble motion, second Munns, and now we will hear from Chief Likens.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This appeared earlier this evening before the Liquor Commission and received unanimous approval. It's an application for a Class B1 liquor license for the business Fire and Wine. Doing business as Fire and Wine here in St. Charles, the B2 license shall authorize the retail sale of alcoholic beverages for consumption on premises as a restaurant and tavern. It's Brian is here, the owner in the back. I'm going to say his name wrong again. Goey. Mr. Brian Goey is here with us tonight. He is a long-standing business owner, which I think is very important to highlight. About 30 years in the business. Owns and operates restaurants in Elmhurst, Hinsdale, Wheaton, Glen Ellen, Park Ridge, multiple in Geneva, and multiple here in St. Charles, including Giamia Pizza Bar and Moto Imoto. So again, it did pass out of committee earlier this evening. The backgrounds have been completed, and we saw no issues at all in the background.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Okay, roll call, please.
Sesner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Kulturitis?
Yes.
Folks?
Yes.
Bongard?
Yes.
Munn? Yes. Spelman? Yes. Graham?
Yes.
Petrulla?
Yes.
Warble?
Yes.
Okay, going to committee reports, anything from government operations?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Alderman Bongard, anything from government services?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Councilmember Warble, anything from planning and development?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, we are now going to move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. Before we do that, again, I want to welcome everybody to our city council chambers. I want to just go through a few things before we begin. First of all, as it relates to public comment, when you please come up to the podium, please make sure to use that microphone. We need to make sure that everybody can hear everything that's being said. There is a sign-up sheet right up there, so please make sure you sign in so that we have a record that you have appeared. There is no time restrictions on that, but we do have another committee meeting after this, so we don't want to limit anybody. At the same time, I'd ask everybody to be cognizant of the fact that we do have other things that we're going to do, so feel free to speak your mind, but just if somebody is before you and has said the same thing, just if we can just remember that we have other things that we have to get to, but that doesn't diminish the importance of what's being said, so feel free to speak your mind. With that being said, would anybody like to approach for public comment? So Ms. Brenz, who is a former teacher, so she'll always be Ms. Brenz, she'll start us out. But then what we can do is people come up for public comment. I'm not sure the best way to do it. You don't have to raise your hand, but I'm going to ask our city administrator if you might be able to give us some guidance.
I would just suggest everybody line up behind the speaker as they want to get in line to speak.
Okay, so what you're going to do is just line up then behind, and so with that, Mrs. Brenz.
Okay, Kathy Brenz, and a little bit of background. I spent my childhood as a military brat, following my Marine Colonel dad from base to base to base. Fortunately, after marriage to my late husband, Jack Brenz, in 1976, the 200th anniversary of our country, we moved back to his hometown, St. Charles. It was my hometown for the first time and has been for the last 49 years. It was important to me to give back, starting with 36 years as a teacher, see a lot of my previous students here, of English and speech at the high school. I'm also a past president of the Youth Commission. I served on the board and was past president at the museum. I am a past president of the Kiwanis Club, and I was on the Natural Resource Commission. So giving back is incredibly important to me, which brings me to the reason I'm standing here. ICE. Its original purpose, national security and public safety. But what have we seen since? Literally thousands and thousands of new ICE recruits with a $50,000 signing bonus. And unfortunately, I think it has attracted a lot of people who have a penchant for, whoa, we get to use violence here, and we get to be masked as we do it. And what is happening is it has caused very legitimate protest, but that has been an excuse to call in the National Guard and call in the military, including the Marines from 29 Palms, California, where my dad and the family was stationed for 2 years when I was in high school. And what happens there? National security and public safety, when our National Guard is being used to protect ICE agents from marauding people in costume. The original purpose, what we were told is we're going to rid the country of the rapists and the murderers and the MS-13s. Yeah, how many of them have actually been deported? How many innocent people have been picked up? How many moms have been thrown to the ground out of their cars in front of children? How many teachers' aides have been pulled out of schools? How many hospital workers have been pulled out? And my guess is that all the gardeners and the people are not rapists or murderers. So, what can I ask you as my local government to do about that? I'm not sure. What can I ask our local police department to do about that if ICE comes to St. Charles? I'm not sure. But I want to quote the late, great John Lewis, it's time for good trouble. The shortest verse in the Bible, 2 words, Jesus wept. Here are another 2, due process. To end, let me quote another phrase, probably paraphrasing it. Evil thrives when good people do nothing.
Thank you, Mrs. Brenz. Sue, if you can go ahead and put your name and on the
I just
record.
did. Okay. Good evening, City Council members and Mayor Hull. I want to begin by acknowledging the long hours and hard decisions involved in your roles. But tonight I am here because St. Charles is facing a serious issue, one that directly undermines the safety and trust of our residents. My name is Sue Sanders. I've lived here in St. Charles since 1984. I raised my son here. I devoted my career to supporting kids in another school district and started the Equity and Belonging Committee at District 87. And today, as a member of the St. Charles Equity Commission and the Immigration Subcommittee, I am bringing forward concerns we no longer can afford to overlook. Last February, Chris Anderson and I held a roundtable with 7 immigrant residents, people who are now U.S. citizens, people deeply rooted in this town. Their stories were troubling. Some were redlined while searching for homes. Others had children facing discrimination in the school. A business owner spoke openly about targeted harassment he endured for years. These are not stories from the past. These are the lived experiences of our neighbors. These conversations made it clear that we need to do more to support newcomers, people moving to St. Charles who may already feel vulnerable. So we organized a community resource night with Mayor Hull at the library. Every agency, park, library, school, city, and township did excellent presentation, but the people we hoped would come stayed away. And that's simple, and the reason is simple. They do not feel safe in St. Charles right now. That is why I'm here speaking tonight, and I'm going to be direct. ICE is operating in our community. They are sleeping in our hotels. They are eating in our restaurants. They are using city property and school grounds to stage operations. And the result is fear, real paralyzing fear among residents who live here, work here, and send their children to school here. I experienced it firsthand. The morning after my colleagues and I built the Equity Scarecrow, I walked to Riverside Drive to check on it. Families were enjoying Scarecrow Fest when an ICE helicopter began circling, hovering long enough for everyone to turn their eyes upward and recognize exactly what it was. That moment was chilling. But helicopter sightings are not the only issue. In the last few weeks, ICE presence has escalated. I personally witnessed 2 individuals taken into custody outside the Kane County Courthouse. No warrant shown, no badge numbers provided, no names given, just heavily armed, masked agents. That is not transparency. That is not accountability. And it certainly is not an atmosphere of safety we expect in our city. And I did show one of my other people the pictures I had. If people are afraid to attend a community event, if they are afraid to walk into a police station, if they are afraid to send their kids to school, then we have a crisis on hand. Tonight, I'm urging you to take action. St. Charles needs some sort of order that prohibits ICE from using city and school property to stage operations. This is not radical. It's a necessary step to protect the trust, safety, and well-being of our residents. Reports suggest ICE may pull back for the winter, only to increase activity again in March. We should not sit back and wait. This is a moment to act, to send a clear message that St. Charles will not be a base for intimidation and fear. Our community deserves better, our residents deserve safety, and our city leadership must respond. Thank you all.
I just wanted to make sure to sign in.
Yeah, I signed in.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Ronald Reagan, a Republican president, stated, "If we ever close our door to new Americans, our leadership in this world would be lost." He spoke and said, "Other countries may seek to compete with us, but in one vital area, as a beacon of freedom and opportunities that draws people all over the world, no other country can come close." This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness. Or it was, because this doesn't feel very free, and this is not what greatness looks like. Look what's happening outside, and look what's happening in front of you. People are scared, and I see it firsthand. I'm an emergency nurse in the city of Chicago. People are scared to come to the hospital, and when people are showing up, they are showing up critically ill. And it's not just hospitals in the city, it's hospitals all over the Chicagoland and suburban areas. I have worked in a lot of major hospital systems, and I've spoken to nurses in your area. People are not showing up, and when they are going straight to the ICUs. Unacceptable. These are supposed to be beacons of safety: schools, hospitals, churches, government properties. We have seen the videos, and there is no saying that it's not happening anymore. And if you're saying it's not happening, then you're not looking. A recent video circulated of a man being strangled, screaming, "I can't breathe." How quickly we forget about George Floyd. I also serve as a sexual assault nurse and a domestic violence nurse. So I'm going to teach you a couple facts about strangulation. It takes 11 pounds of pressure to cut off blood flow. And temporary or permanent brain damage occurs in as little as 30 seconds, and brain death will occur within under 5 minutes. This is happening, and we need to do something about this. The change starts here as a community. It starts with being brave and doing things that make you uncomfortable. Because if you're doing something uncomfortable, it means you're doing something right. So it's time for you guys as a city to hear the voices of the hundreds of people who showed up here today and use your voices. Look at what your community is saying in front of you. There are tons of cities that are starting to pass the ordinance. It's your turn. We all remember this speech from history class. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, but I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there's nobody left to speak for me. My job is to heal people, and your job is to be the voice of the people. So use your voice, be brave, and stand up. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And just as a reminder, I know you're signing in, but if you could just identify yourself for the record, that would be great. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I know some of you, don't know everyone, I apologize. My name is David Jimenez, and I have the pleasure and I work, I'm just a couple doors down up the way here. My family and I are the proud owners of El Puente Restaurant, and we've been here at St. Charles for going on 26 years now. And we have loved our time here. We've been blessed. We got through COVID. We've got, several economic swings and to and fro. But I was asked a little while back to speak on what I had observed and seen these last few months with everything going on, nationwide and locally. And the focus is local because, people have heard stories, friend of friend, and, so-and-so works with somebody and he didn't come to work today. At the factory, he didn't go to work, they didn't go to church. People aren't going to pick up their kids at school. They're not going to get groceries. They're afraid to, drop off their children at kindergarten and schools. And, it's a scary time for a lot of people. I think most people know, have heard stories or know someone directly affected, and I count myself as one of those. It feels like a very dark time in a lot of respects on a national level, and there's a lot of concern about what's going to come what's yet to come. And we love being here. We love working here. My children are growing up, and one of them's working right now covering for me, so I could sneak out. So I will thank him in due course. But I just ask for the people listening, the council, governments, small and large, remember that this is about people, your neighbors, your coworkers. Like someone mentioned earlier, the person who comes and cuts your grass, the person who bags groceries. And don't forget that they're people. Very often they're people with families, with children. And this is not lost on me because I know somebody who was taken by ICE. And as many people do currently. I would just ask, to remember that that's what it's about, not quotas, not, spins and agendas. These are real people. And these are people, a lot of them, who have been here for years, decades, paying taxes, putting their kids through school, working 2 jobs to try and, their sons, their daughters to be the first ones to go to college. My parents came here in the 70s, immigrated here, got citizenship, started their businesses, and, I'm standing on their shoulders. So hopefully, whatever is to come, we can remember who we are, who we're supposed to be, and try and do better for them, us, and the nation as a whole. I'm not here to stump for policies and changes because I just want to bring it back to that. And, ask for some compassion and a little bit of grace for these people because are there criminals that have been taken? Yes. Were there people here who thought that was a good idea, who are immigrants? Yes. Nobody was sitting and stumping and saying, no, you can't take them. He's a career criminal. He's a gang leader. He's a drug dealer. Nobody was picketing and fighting over that. But when they started taking people from pickup lines at middle schools and kindergartens, and they started, hounding Home Depots for people who just wanted to, make some money to cover expenses for a day and just wanted a chance. I think that's where things have kind of gone off the rails. And anyhow, I just wanted to, share that. Somebody came to me and asked me to see or to say what I've seen, and those are some of those things. And I just leave you with that. Let's try and have some compassion, some grace for these people. They are, in some respects, in a lot of ways, they're us. And like I said, I'm fortunate enough to be the result of people, immigrated here and worked hard. And, did they have college degrees? No. But they had, the will, the drive, we say in Spanish, ganas. And they weren't going to, if it took longer, okay. If they had to work harder, okay. If they had to put doubles, okay. But this is what it costs to make a better life for their family. And I think we forget so easily that that's what most immigrants, most people that come here want. And they want to do that. And I think a lot of that's been lost or been obscured with everything else going on. And like I said, agendas that really don't reflect a lot of the people here and the town, and, you know, especially in Charles, where I've had, like I said, the honor and privilege to work here for all these years. So, thank you very much for your time, and God bless. Okay. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Ms. Herrera, if you could state your name and make sure you're signed in, please.
Oh, absolutely. Good evening. I am still Heather Herrera, Award 5, St. Charles, Illinois. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the few on the dais who took the time to respond to my public comment on October 6th and the many emails that I sent as follow-up. For the sake of time, I will skip over the formal introduction. If anyone needs my credentials, I'm happy to offer those after the conclusion of today's meeting. As promised, I'm here to deliver a synopsis of data collected from the community as it relates to St. Charles. As part of Operation Midway Blitz, the analysis will show undeniably that there is an impact to our community, and the action by City Council and the City Admin is fully warranted. As I dive into the details and the data compiled, I need to preface that this information is not an official record. The scope of this data does not include impacts to local businesses, to school attendance, to St. Charles residents abducted in other communities. This is not a comprehensive list of the upticks in unlocked drone and ICE and Border Patrol helicopter activity in our neighborhoods. Additionally, this data does not reflect the increased level of access federal agents have to flock camera, license plate readers, and cell phone data that has been inappropriately used to execute warrantless apprehensions by way of racial profiling. However, this information is a running record to document rule of law abuse and will continue to be journaled for future reference. Now, in order to decipher the impact to the St. Charles community, the raw data was converted into risk assessment friendly format. First, we ranked the 27 instances of observed federal operations reported by level of impact, whereas critical impact equals any time a human was abducted, which most often includes unconstitutional practice by armed federal agents where their behavior and driving is erratic. High impact, where agents were observed endangering the community through reckless and dangerous actions without an incident of kidnapping. And moderate impact, where agents were observed in the community surveilling neighborhoods or staging operations in the area. Of those 27 events, 11 had critical impact, 2 had high impact, and 14 were moderate impact, meaning that roughly half of the incidents were extremely hazardous and have the potential to cause irreparable harm to families in the community, while the other half of incidents created fear, trauma, distrust of local authorities within the community. In total, there were a documented 19 abductions in St. Charles since the beginning of these federal operations. Mixed in with this data, there are at least 2 FOIA requests that were subsequently denied, with more FOIA requests tentative. There were at least 2 incidents where the St. Charles Police Department facilities were reportedly used to interrogate those abducted by federal agents, which may challenge whether St. Charles is truly compliant with the Trust Act. And even more concerning, in this last week, there was an incident on school property where armed agents used the parking lot to transfer a kidnapped person from one vehicle to another, and an observer was physically blocked in by 3 vehicles, all while school is in session. In short, this limited data analyzed indicates that operations are absolutely causing harm within our community, and the potential for continued endangerment to our neighbors is extremely likely. Because we know that the Chicagoland area was used as testing grounds with a promise to return in full force in spring, the data suggests that our community is highly susceptible to continued harm, especially if the only mitigating control we have in place is adherence to the Trust Act. And upon learning that the Department of Justice details reflected only 2.6% of 614 abducted have actual criminal histories, none of which are murder or rape. It's time that we call these unconstitutional operations out for what they really represent. With these facts in mind, it is now up to City Council and City Admin to determine whether you are willing to accept these risks. For those in the room that want to be trusted helpers, I implore you to check in with your neighbors often and to be a patron of businesses that were unjustly affected by federal action whenever possible. Please feel empowered to use your voice and your privilege for good. And for those that are empowered to implement safeguards and protect the community, this is now for you to decipher what comes next. It's literally what you're elected and entrusted to do. History has taught us that I was just following orders is an intolerable defense for those sworn to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law, and our community deserves better. I appreciate your time, and I'll now turn it over to our next community member. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please make sure you sign in and identify yourself.
I am signed in. My name is Jenny Golden. I do volunteer work here in St. Charles, but also this town holds hundreds of memories of myself and my two sons, especially my youngest, who loves coming here to play at the park and miniature golf and walk along the Riverwalk and walk down the streets with the lights and eat at restaurants. I'm going to get emotional, as I always do. Pero no podemos hacer nada aquí en St. Charles porque hielo está aquí. We can't do any of that because ICE is here. No podemos caminar en las calles porque ICE is here. No podemos jugar en los parques because ICE is here. No podemos hacer nada aquí in St. Charles because ICE is here. But that's important to me porque mi hijo es mexicano. My son is Mexican. And I refuse to bring him to parks, to miniature golf places, to river walks, to restaurants where ICE is present. And if anybody here thinks that ICE is not doing anything and that they're not present, and if people do not want to acknowledge that ICE is here, that is the strongest form of white privilege that I have ever seen. I am not asking for anybody to ever undermine federal policy, but I'm asking that you guys come together and mimic what your neighboring cities are doing by adopting an ordinance that can protect our neighbors, the vulnerable communities, our immigrant population, the Hispanic and Latino population, that we can help them and save them from being abducted and dehumanized. What is going on out there is awful and it is disgusting. And I cannot, as a white woman, stand for any of it. Every day, before I go to my first job as a nurse, I am out in the streets ensuring that our neighbors are safe. And then I come home and feed my kids. And then I go to my second job, and then I'm out late at night ensuring that our neighbors are safe, that they are not getting brutalized by these agents. This one is for you, Mayor. You said all good relationships start with trust, that citizens must trust their mayor to always act in the best interest of our city. These egregious acts that these inhumane agents are doing are not in the best interest of this city at all by any means. And when this is spoken of or written about in years to come, what do you guys want to be said about you? What do you guys want people to say about you? That you fought against racism or that you encouraged it? I know for me, I am an example to my kids, my two boys, showing them what it takes to stand up for people. What are you guys doing? I am just asking for an ordinance. I'm asking for the police department to be held accountable. And if they're called out to something that is ICE related, to get names and badge numbers of these agents because Nuremberg 2.0 is coming, as it should come. And they're going to be held so dang accountable. And we need to do everything that we can to protect these vulnerable communities. Y finalmente, chinga la migra.
Thank you very much. You could just please identify yourself and...
Hello, Mayor, council members. My name is Jennifer Medina, and I've lived, worked, and raised my family in Kane County, specifically the Tri-City areas, for the past 22 years. This community is my home. Having grown up in the sometimes rough neighborhoods within the town of Cicero, my number one priority 22 years ago, as I was starting my young family, was to give my children a better, safer community than I had in which to grow up in. Over the past 2 decades, there's never been a time where I didn't feel comfortable living here or letting my children go out and play or walk the dogs, or as they got older, allowing them to go out into the community without me. My children and I have never felt at danger here. We have never felt unsafe in any way, ever. That is until Monday, October 25th, 2025. At approximately 11:30 a.m. on that day, I found myself in a very terrifying situation. While driving down North Avenue, heading east near Rookie's Bar, I was run off the road by a large, dark-colored SUV, essentially led, or shall I say, pushed me into the back parking lot behind the St. Charles police station, where I eventually found myself boxed in and unable to move by several dark-colored SUVs. The vehicles had no identifying markers on them, and I was pinned in, and I saw several men exiting their vehicles. I noticed no identifying markers on them as well. All I saw coming towards me were several large men with their faces covered in masks. I'm sorry. And their bodies littered from head to toe in tactical gear. I knew at that point who they were. I knew they were federal ICE agents. So I was there, stuck, unable to move, not knowing what these men were going to do to me. As I sat there trembling, watching them moving a bit closer, I quickly rolled up all of my windows. I locked my doors. I sat there thinking to myself, are they going to bust my windows? Are they going to pepper spray me in the face? Or maybe worse? I watched as they converged and began talking with each other while staring at me. My heart was pounding. What would their next move be? How would I even escape? I looked around. There was no way I could move my car. I was trapped. So I took a deep breath, and I slowly cracked my window, just enough for them to hear me. And I yelled, "Am I being detained?" There was no response. So I asked again, "Am I being detained?" Again, no response. I told them, if I am not being detained, please move your vehicles so that I may leave. Again, no response. All the while, I saw one masked agent intermittently speaking on what I assume was a walkie-talkie. This went on for what seemed like, in my mind, to be a very, very long time. my heart still pounding. Then, out of nowhere, I see a uniformed St. Charles police officer walking over to speak with the masked agents. I immediately wondered if it was this officer that the masked agent has been speaking to on his walkie-talkie moments before. After a brief conversation with those agents, the St. Charles police officer began to approach me. And it was there, at that exact moment, for the first time in my entire life, that I questioned the motive of a police officer. The same police officers that I have raised my children to respect, to look up to, and most importantly, to go to when they are in need of help. And I sat there questioning his motive in approaching me, wondering what he was going to do to me. As the officer slowly made his way to my car, I immediately asked him through my cracked window, "Officer, am I being detained?" He didn't answer my question, and he began to speak over me. So I asked him once again, "Am I being detained?" He finally answered, "No, you are not being detained." I responded by requesting that he tell the federal agents to move their vehicles so that I may leave. The presence of unidentifiable masked men suited up in tactical gear, recklessly driving around in our community, unlawfully running off people from the road, and forcibly detaining citizens does not make me, or anyone else I would imagine, feel safe. I stand here today not just as a resident, but as a mother, a neighbor, and someone who loves this community. I raised my children here because I believed they would be safe. What happened to me on that late October morning shattered that belief. And now, I'm asking you to help rebuild it. Not just for me, but for everyone and every family who calls St. Charles home. Thank you.
Will you go ahead and state your name?
Yes, I put my name down as John Smith. I am a community member here in St. Charles. I do not feel like I need to fully identify myself. So today I was going to talk about flock cameras, which does unfortunately tie into issues with Border Patrol, ICE agents, and stuff like that. And as someone who, at one point in time, during this political climate, has been in a relationship with someone who is unfortunately Hispanic, because that seems to be a problem, a skin tone for the current administration for targeting and whatnot. But that's just dealing with having to go around with her 5-year-old sister with a passport because she's from Elgin, and that's where the majority of it was going on, was despicable. And to hear now that it's happening more here is very much more disheartening. And I think for everyone's comments here, that feels like definitely a Chambers thing, but also a police chief thing, especially if her event took place over at the police department. Now, what I was here to talk to you guys about is flock cameras. It's called flock safety. It is used by our police department. It is used vastly across the United States, as well as within Illinois. Thankfully, we do have certain laws in place that do limit Illinois from only sharing information between other Illinois departments. But when auditing said, it was a small audit done of a few departments, and there was a lot of issues with searches and stuff being related to immigration and stuff like that. So these flock cameras, currently there are 8 of them in St. Charles. The contract is a 2-year contract that was signed by the previous sheriff, or not sheriff, police chief. And what these cameras do is they call themselves automatic license plate readers, but they go above and beyond that. They are fingerprint / scanners of your car. Think of it as a unique 3D render or a clay model of your car, including scratches, paint color, dents, etc. The problem is it is an AI functional machine. It makes mistakes. There's already been so many issues with these cameras across the nation. And like I said, even within Illinois, we're supposed to have safe harbor laws for people coming here for medical care or to also help with immigration services. And there have been found in other areas that there have been breaches of that. And you can't necessarily count on the police to truly audit themselves when it comes to being able to FOIA information requests, stuff about these devices. You are unable to because they're considered an automatic license plate reader. Obviously, the Secretary of State has only done a small audit of the overall departments in Illinois. And within those departments were using the information improperly. Some other people had given their credentials to, say, ICE agents or Border Patrol agents to then use inappropriately. These cameras were sold on the prospect of them being able to find stolen vehicles and get your stolen vehicle back for you. They're not good at that. They really don't. The facts show they are not good at that. The problem is Flock has a transparency portal. There are some cities that use the Flock transparency portal. Unfortunately, our city does not, and we're in a 2-year contract now for 8 cameras that cost, over the course of these 2 years, $44,000. You will see 2 over here at the Baker. So if you came down 64 here from the Baker, it's got your license plate and vehicle. You can take your plate off. It still knows it's your vehicle. It tracks and monitors your patterns. It can build traffic patterns for you. Let's say you drive with a friend next to you a lot. It might flag that as being something inappropriate. And there's issues with that. So we don't show our transparency page. Why is that? I'm not very sure. There's no harm in it. If you look at Roselle, they share their transparency page. They have 12 devices within the last 30 days. That's how long they have to hold this data for. They have scanned 344,187 vehicles. 2,449 of those vehicles have been on a hot list, and 85 actual searches were done by the police through the system. Now, when we go to Champaign, obviously a bit bigger, 46 cameras, detected 383,476 vehicles, 12,000 on the hot list, 528 searches. Now, I feel like us being under 24-hour surveillance, little unjust. They do constantly take pictures of everything that goes by. The issue with this is you can look up a recent issue in Colorado where a lady was approached at her home and accused of stealing a package from someone else's doorstep, a porch pirate they call it. She drove a green Rivian with a dash cam. Thankfully, Rivians track themselves. As much as I don't like cars and stuff tracking themselves, thankfully that car tracked itself because it was able to prove her car didn't go there that day. It was not her car. The AI confused her car with another Rivian of the same color. So they're fallible. So what happens if let's say, a stolen car. It's not a stolen car. And PD rushes up on someone and pulls guns. Where's our liability for things like that? Where are we coming through with being able to make sure that our police is being respectful and using this technology in the proper way as it is advancing so quickly? This technology is advancing so rapidly that it will eventually turn into facial recognition and everything like that. It has been shown that these cameras also track speed, and Flock is potentially looking at turning these cameras into tracking speed. So they could potentially become speed trafficking ticket printing machines, which would be a good way to get that $44,000 back. So unfortunately, these devices, you put them up on the traffic stops, and you'll see a solar panel, and there'll be kind of a round gray object with some lens. There's a button on the back of that, just kind of like how you have a button on your Wi-Fi router or other devices to allow open connections. Now, unfortunately, if someone wanted to be a bad actor, they could go buy themselves a router with some software online, go around with their laptop, and most likely gain access to these cameras. Because these cameras, for the most part, the password's security, unfortunately. It's hilarious. If we go into the audit from 24 to 25, the audit of 12 local law enforcement, they found Mount Prospect had issues. 47 out-of-state agencies had access to the data out of these 12 law enforcement agencies, working with CPD and Homeland Security. Mount Prospect had 262 immigration-related searches, and it was working Oak Park. Now, places have tried to get rid of these cameras, and unfortunately, these cameras pop back up. It happened in Evanston. Evanston tried to get rid of them, and they pop back up. The best reasoning you can say for these devices is an Amber Alert or something like that. That's essentially the best defense for these, is someone gets stolen or whatnot, an Amber Alert. That's the best case scenario, and that's the only case scenario, that these things are truly useful. And that's kind of like the bottom line cop-out when it comes to these things. They track an incredible amount of vehicles. There's so many over Chicago. Our police chief, I met and spoke with him at Meet the Chief. He is very much for these cameras. He is a big proponent for them, unfortunately. And I do not see it changing that we will no longer have these cameras after the contract runs out next year. It was originally brought as a one-year contract, got signed as a two-year contract, and now with our political climate and ICE, it's really not good to know higher powers that be could potentially access information that tracks people's movement and everything. So definitely not a fan of turning the local area into a surveillance state. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for stepping up. If you could just identify yourself, please.
My name is Megan Stace-Colbrot, and I'm here to ensure that you are aware of the profound impact of ICE and Border Patrol the ICE and Border Patrol actions are having on the education of our students in both D303 and at Elgin Community College. I ask that you support the efforts of the employees at both institutions and, most importantly, the students that attend those schools. As an instructor at Elgin Community College, my students have been detained without access to communication for at least 5 days after immigration hearings. They've had their homes entered, damaged, and searched by agents, all without warrants and often through violent means. Every day, the students at ECC face the uncertainty of not knowing whether their families or their friends or themselves will be taken. These very real and justified fears prevent them from attending classes and from focusing on their academic and career goals. As a mother of 2 students who are privileged to attend D303 schools without these fears, I hear from them about peers who do not share that safety. Students in our schools have witnessed neighbors and family members detained and live with the constant worry that they might be questioned or taken. As a taxpayer, I ask that you support the tireless and impactful work of the employees at ECC and D303, and above all, the students. The actions of ICE and Border Patrol will affect our students for the rest of their lives. They deserve to feel protected and valued by their community, especially when so much lies beyond their control. Your support will help ensure that they can simply be students, navigating the normal challenges of life and continuing to grow as contributors to our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. I'm Beth Schwingel. I'm a resident of St. Charles, the 3rd Ward, as a matter of fact. And I've lived here for more than 20 years. My family put down roots here, raised our children here, sent all 3 of them, including my Guatemalan foster daughter, through St. Charles School. I'm here tonight because what's happening with ICE across northern Illinois is not as far away as some of us think. It's affecting families right here in St. Charles, families that you all represent. My neighbors who moved here the same year we did are Mexican-American U.S. citizens. They work hard, they go to church, and spend time with their newborn grandbabies. And yet, they tell me they don't feel safe and that they need to hide. They keep a low profile because of what's happening in St. Charles and in surrounding communities. They've had family members abducted and deported from neighboring West Chicago. They would never come here and stand at this microphone. I wouldn't even ask because I know the answer. They worry that simply being visible could put them at risk. That is the level of fear people are living with here in St. Charles. My foster daughter, a graduate of St. Charles East, and an ACE Award winner, nominated by her guidance counselor for the hardships she overcame to get that diploma, is a legal resident from Guatemala. Her legal status was granted after she testified against her traffickers, who abused her and stole her wages when she was too young to work. Her testimony helped put those people in prison, where they remain. She did everything right. The U.S. government thanked her. That's why she got residency. And yet, when ICE raids escalated, she didn't feel safe staying in Illinois. She moved out of state, temporarily, hopefully, because she feared she would get caught up in a workplace raid and separated from her baby daughter, a U.S. citizen. I've received terrified texts from a teenage family friend in Aurora who saw ICE outside his home. This kid who cooks food at an upscale restaurant that I don't have the budget to attend right now was too afraid to go grocery shopping for himself. He texted me, called me Mama Beth, and asked if I would go get him groceries. He would pay for them. So I went grocery shopping for him. Of course, I didn't let him pay for them. But this is what fear looks like in real life. Another young woman we love voluntarily presented herself for deportation because she feared just being picked up off the streets by ICE. She was told it was unsafe then to appear in person in court and that she needed to do it via WebEx. I was told by her attorney repeatedly about the dangers of getting that WebEx wrong. And I was told if she didn't have her mic off when she entered that Zoom room, she could be immediately deported. If she didn't have her camera on, the judge would immediately deport her. The list goes on. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that is what the attorney said. She didn't have the technology to make sure those mistakes wouldn't happen, so I brought her to my house, and we set her up. I took time off work to get her through that court appearance. 10 other cases were before her, by the way, so I got to hear those as well. It went perfectly. She got through it. She was lovely, and she was granted the opportunity to not be immediately deported. They gave her the best possible outcome, which is she can stay until March, giving herself time to say goodbye to her family, including her father and her sisters. I know it may be tempting to say these aren't St. Charles problems, but they are my family's problems, and I am in St. Charles. They're the problems of my neighbors who moved here 20 years ago. They're the problems of students who graduated from these schools. They're the problems that shape whether people feel safe using our parks, walking into our buildings, patronizing our businesses, or trusting their police and city government. And that is absolutely a St. Charles issue. When ICE uses municipal parking lots or city property as staging areas, the fear lands right here in our neighborhoods, our schools, our sense of belonging. Elgin, Aurora, Batavia, and just today, King County, have already taken steps to make clear that their public spaces will not be used to intimidate their residents. Will not be used to intimidate their residents. St. Charles should do the same, not only for our own community, but to show our neighbors across the Fox Valley that we stand with them. St. Charles is not an island, even if it wasn't here on North Avenue. Shouldn't we stand with our brothers and sisters across the Fox Valley? This is about being a stand-up community that leads rather than hides. I'm asking you tonight to take a clear public step that says the city of St. Charles stands with the people who live here, work here, own businesses here, visit here, and to trust you to lead with courage and compassion. I believe you can do that, and I'm asking you to stand up and stand for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I'm Lazar Marquez from La Huerta Grill and Market on the west side of town. I'd like to speak a little bit. I'd like to speak a little bit to kind of a cultural implication, as well as perhaps give a voice to what the experience is as a small business owner. I was raised, so we have in our family, we've got 7 stores, all with the same name. Actually, 2 don't. But specifically out in our Addison store a couple of weeks ago, there was an incident with ICE agents. They were following somebody to the store, pulled into the parking lot, and the lady was scared to open her window. ICE agents broke the window open, and they pulled her out. As it turns out, she was not. She was actually released. She had, I guess, permission to be in the country, that type of thing. But there's something that's taking place, and maybe in this environment, it's not quite so obvious. The agents, as some people have mentioned, don't have clear badges always. They're supposed to have badges that are displayed. That's not always the case, though. There's nothing on their bodies where you can see, like maybe on their backs where it says ICE or something along those lines. They had hoodies, jeans. The cars that they're driving don't have M plates or G plates, masks that cover up to above their nose, and assault rifles. So that is what the narco-terrorists look like south of the border. So from a cultural perspective, it inspires a level of panic in people. That does not mean that they're narco-terrorists, of course, but just from a visual perspective, that's what that looks like. That's the feeling, if you will, that it inspires in people. So automatically it generates a level of panic. That specific event was captured on video. It's gone viral, and it's kind of ugly. It impacts everybody. From our perspective here in town, earlier on this year, where our sales were going up nicely, up maybe about 10-15%, we're going in the opposite direction now. This is all panic fed. That's just kind of what it comes down to. We've had likely fielded, I would say, hundreds of phone calls from people asking if it's safe to go, if their kids can go. There's been even a transition where people stop going during the day and they go out at night. There's a rumor, right or wrong, not sure if it's true, but that there's less ice activity once it gets dark. So it's becoming kind of a nocturnal culture. It's just having different types of impacts. We've spoken to different people, business owners in West Chicago, Addison, Elgin. I'm hearing numbers of sales being done anywhere from 20 to 50%. So it's having an impact, and it's pretty destructive in that regard. One of the things that we have not seen happen yet, and hopefully it doesn't happen because it would probably end our business, is if ice begins to stage on, like certainly in our parking lot or next door, at the city clerk or I forget the name of it, the courthouse next door there, yeah. That would wipe us out. From a demographic perspective, roughly half of our customers, I would say, are Hispanic, but our break even is such that if we lose 50%, we're underwater. We've got some staying power to be sure, but not that much. So I would just, I guess, simply like to, just say that, I guess. I would, to the degree that you can. I understand this is not necessarily a local issue 100%. There's federal components to be sure behind it, but I would like to advocate for, at a minimum, keeping ICE from staging on those corridors like that. It has a terrifying and destructive component to it in several regards. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lauren Carter, and I have been a St. Charles resident for almost 15 years. I'm a D303 mother, and I volunteer within the community. Some people might say that it would be prudent to avoid emotion or the human impact of what we are facing as a community as I speak to you. I wholeheartedly disagree. The presence of ICE and Border Patrol in St. Charles is a deeply human issue and perhaps the most human issue that our community has faced. The monarch butterfly pins that you're seeing around the room tonight symbolize immigration and represent resilience, hope, and respect for migration. We are a nation of immigrants. The vast majority of us in this room and in St. Charles are the descendants of immigrants who all came here seeking a better life. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. I wish I had enough time to talk to you at length about the fear of being racially profiled that many of our neighbors are facing regardless of their immigration status. I wish I could talk to you about the pain in the eyes of the soccer moms that I talk to who know the very real danger that their families are facing. I wish I could talk to you about the children who are sent to school with notes in their backpacks with instructions of what to do should they come home and their parents are gone. I wish I could talk to you about the dad in our community who was taken while he was on his way to pick up his child, and he is now being sent to Texas for some inexplicable reason. I wish I could talk to you about the people who are being held in inhumane facilities not far from here, stripped of dignity
and due process. I wish I could talk to you about the students who are canceling their music lessons at Hunt House just across the street because they are afraid, and the children who are not showing up to soccer games and tournaments for the very same reason. I wish I could talk to you more about the eyes of the families who I have helped receive grocery orders from a pantry in a neighboring town, not that far. Alongside the mayor and the chief of police, I stood for hours handing out food and groceries because these families are afraid to go to the grocery store or go to work. I wish I could tell you about those children that I talk to and the mothers who just break your heart because all they want to do is provide safety for their children. In Chicago, roughly 600 people have been taken. Only 16 of them have criminal records. Neighboring communities know that ICE is present in St. Charles and that operations are taking place near school grounds. And I just tonight received a text message from a friend of Batavia who told me that her family is afraid to come to St. Charles for that very reason. Masked men are zip tying people and throwing them into the backs of vans without a warrant or even identifying themselves. As a woman and as a sexual assault survivor, that is terrifying. I wish I could talk to you at length about the people in this room and the rapid response groups and signal chats and trainings that we have all been a part of. Many of us giving up dinner with our families instead of tucking our children in at night. We are armed with little more than a gym whistle to alert our neighbors. It's a rallying cry. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. I wish we had time for all of these stories and more, but we don't. Every day that passes, ICE and Border Patrol cause more harm in our communities, and our neighborhoods. As a community, we are here today to tell you that we are not okay with our neighbors disappearing. We are not okay with our neighbors existing in terror. And we ask you to be leaders and to join us in that rallying cry. Who keeps us safe? Please keep us safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Nashina Rahman. I didn't intend to speak today, but I wanted to give you a personal perspective of someone who visually stands out in St. Charles. Unlike a lot of people, I was not happy to move to St. Charles. I was very happy living in Skokie, where I blended in, but I married a St. Charles boy. And my father-in-law became sick. He fell a couple of times, and we decided we had to come here to be close to him to help out. But I did remember telling my husband, I'm scared because I stand out here. How will the neighbors treat me? What will it be like to go to the grocery store where I might be the only brown person? And it was okay about 8 years ago. My neighbors waved to me, they smiled, and little by little I became comfortable. Up until recently, I had to start carrying my passport card with me. I'm afraid to go out, even coming here. You know, walking through the parking lot, there is a fear. People have told me all my life, hey, this isn't about you guys, you came the right way. My parents came here legally, I came here legally. American citizens, but none of that protects you against people who are bullies. And these ICE agents, I can imagine them being middle school bullies and growing up being high school bullies, not being able to be cops, because they couldn't make the cut, not being able to go into the military because they couldn't make the cut. And then they got a gift. They got a gift that you can go and bully people. You can wear masks. You can have an assault rifle. You can be in an unmarked car. You don't need to identify yourself. You can pull somebody out of the car, throw them on the ground, kidnap them, take them away, kick them. And nobody is going to do anything about it. As our elected representatives, you need to do something about it. You need to protect us, not just some of us, all of us. Thank you.
Good evening. Aaron Walsh, been in St. Charles now for about 20 years. I got 2 kids at North and love the town. Coming from Wisconsin, it's great. Want it to be a difference here in the echo chamber that you're hearing. Yeah, there's a lot of empathy that's been thrown about, feelings, emotions, etc. But at the end of the day, are we not a nation of laws?
All right.
I'm pretty sure that nobody else talks.
Sir, let me address it. So I will tell you that one of the things that I am proudest of in St. Charles is the respect and civility that we treat one another with. And so I have been so impressed with the way that this has been going tonight, and we want to continue to hold ourselves to that standard. And so everybody has the right to speak during public comment. Doesn't mean you have to agree or disagree, but I would ask that every speaker be given the same level of respect. And so if you can't do that, I'd ask you to leave. But again, you can continue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You know, it's troubling because when we don't follow the rules or the laws set forth anymore, society descends into chaos. It's proven over the course of history and will happen again. As long as we just keep making decisions based upon empathy, emotion, fear, etc., gone is everything else. There will be nothing left for any of us to fight for. So why is it necessary to have, yeah, there's horror stories everywhere. It's terrible. But you know what? There is a process to be done legally. Is it the cheapest way to do it? Absolutely not. Is it the easy way to do it? No. But nobody in this room stood up when they let in 20 million people over the last 4 years. Was there any thought of the cause and effect of doing that? If the city council decides ultimately to go ahead and not let ICE stage on city grounds, civilians will take it into their own hands because we've had enough of just the ever-loving abuse that has been going on in today's society, lawfare, etc. It's disheartening. I respect everyone who's been up here to talk, and I appreciate it. But every now and then there needs to be somebody that stands up and says, there are laws in place, there were laws that were broken, and there are ramifications for those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, all right. So once again, so a couple different things I just want to go through. So one, I'm going to repeat again how proud I am to be from St. Charles and the respect and civility that we treat each other with in St. Charles. Second is, as it relates to public comment is an opportunity for our citizens to stand up and to make a statement. Council doesn't ask questions. Council doesn't engage in back and forth. We don't ask staff to do the same thing. And so this is an opportunity for everyone to be heard. And that's what we want to do, and that's what we've continued to do. So we will continue to allow people to come up and speak publicly, But I would ask that the comments be directed to council, that it not be a rebuttal to anybody else that's spoken, and just to speak your heart and your mind as to why you're here tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank-
My name
thank
is
you.
Heather Knight. You can see by the way I'm dressed and the fact that I'm shaking a little bit, I wasn't planning on speaking. This is not a rebuttal. This is just to remind us all that this is how laws are made in this country. That's it.
Yeah.
And when you represent us, you listen to us, you listen to all of us, you take that into consideration. But there were laws that said people couldn't vote, people that looked like me until the 20s, people that looked of color. There were people that were not allowed to marry, that were not allowed to do all of those things that now we take for granted. So that's all we're asking, is that you take a look at that and make laws according to what's not just right or not just what we think should be right, but for what the people want. Because as your constituents, that's why you're here. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, just a couple of things that I went through them a little bit, just as a reminder, again, as to what public comment is for and then how we go from here. So number one, on behalf of the entire council and myself, I want to thank you for being here tonight. You just said it best. This is democracy at work, and I'm very proud to be a part of the city where hundreds of people come in, share their opinion, and can do so in a way in which everybody can be heard. So I thank you for that. I also, on behalf of the council, want to thank you for people being brave enough, everyone who spoke. You just said it, but I'm sure that many people, when they approach that mic, they say that public speaking is one of the hardest things to do. And so to come into a council chamber, to stand up in front at a microphone, to be asked to identify yourself and to share the feelings that you've shared, the emotions that this issue brings, is not easy to do. And again, on behalf of the entire council, I want to thank you for doing that. What I will tell you is at the end of every city council meeting, I ask if staff or council has anything else to say. But again, it goes back to, and we talked about it before today, public comment isn't an opportunity then for the council or for the mayor to respond, because if we did that, it's just not what we've ever done. This is an opportunity for us to listen, and that's what we've done tonight. Your stories and the comments that you have made have been from the heart. It's evident from that. And so, again, that's appreciated. So there was no agenda item having an ordinance up tonight, so there's not going to be any action or inaction taken on that. This was a listening session for us, and we appreciate that. So with that, I'm going to ask if staff has any other business. Okay, anything from council? Okay, then I'm going to ask if there is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
There was a motion from Gem, a second for Warble. Roll call, please.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Kulkaitis?
Yes.
Folk?
Yes.
Bongan?
Yes.
Munn?
Yes.
Spelman?
Yes.
Gem?
Yes.
Petrilla?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take a quick 5-minute recess and turn it over for the next meeting.
Yes.